The attention economy and the cost of sensitivity. Why depth, healing, and embodied presence are being pushed to the margins. I'm Ben Ufana, completing another article this week. There's so much depth and detail that I want to include that I'm not going to even attempt to rely on memory. For that reason, I will be reading from the article itself. What I've been noticing for quite some time, and yet have struggled to clearly articulate, feels jarring to my senses, and I know I'm not alone in this. I can look at shorts, reels, and other content on TikTok, Instagram, and similar platforms, and recognize that it's visually attractive, even compelling, and yet almost immediately I can feel that it's toxic for my system. It's like candy, or more accurately, digital meth. It looks good. It delivers a fast neurochemical hit, and at the same time, I know with certainty that if I continue consuming it for more than a few minutes, it's harming me. After 5, maybe 10 minutes at most, I'm feeling overstimulated. I have to get off. And even then, I'm left with a deeply unsettling after effect, as though my nervous system has been pulled outwards and yet has yet to find its way back home. This isn't moral judgment, envy, or lack of appreciation for beauty or aesthetics. It's my nervous system and other regulatory systems shaped through years of intensive meditation, qigong, and vision quests giving me very clear feedback. Attractive but poisonous is actually the most accurate metaphor I can find. Highly optimized social media content is engineered much like ultra-processed food. It's designed to stimulate quickly and intensely. It captures attention immediately, delivers a fast neurochemical hit, and then leaves the system depleted, agitated, and dysregulated. Our system isn't confused when it reacts this way. It's registering cost. We could find something visually appealing and simultaneously recognize that the way it's delivered is neurologically corrosive. Those two things are not in conflict. In fact, the conflict only arises when we're taught to distrust our own embodied response, or when we've become so disconnected and so desensitized that we are no longer registering the damage being done. Highly optimized influencer content often combines several elements at once: sexual signaling, rapid cuts, polished visuals, exaggerated persona, and the subtle novelty loops. That cocktail spikes dopamine and norepinephrine without providing grounding, context, or integration. For many people, this goes unnoticed. They don't feel the cost until later when they're exhausted, irritable, numb, or dissociated. But for those of us who are highly empathic, somatically attuned, and trained to work with the nervous system and other body-mind systems, the effect is immediate. If we have high interoceptive awareness, if we value coherence and depth, if we spend long periods in stillness and silence, our system simply doesn't tolerate this kind of input for long. The harmful effects aren't registered hours later, we're feeling them immediately. When I say I feel fried, I don't mean metaphorically. What's being experienced by those who are highly sensitive is sympathetic nervous system overactivation. That translates into attention fragmentation and the loss of embodied presence, which often manifests as a form of subtle dissociation. The brain is being pulled outwards faster than the body can metabolize what's coming in. So the system does the most intelligent thing it could do and says, "Get me the fuck out of here." That's not weakness or fragility. It's the body-mind's innate regulatory and healing intelligence alerting us to the harmful effects of what is, in many ways, digital crack. This is where the deeper conflict emerges for those of us in the healing arts. Our work is about digestion of experience. Slowness, integration, deep emotional processing, and embodied presence. It requires sensitivity and attunement, along with the capacity to stay with what is subtle, uncomfortable, and unresolved. Much of influencer culture is based on an entirely different neurological contract. It prioritizes immediacy, stimulation, performance, and capture. The former is healing, growth-oriented, and life-affirming. The latter is manipulative and addictive, more akin to feeding refined sugar to children or alcohol to indigenous peoples, where the long-term harm to the body and mind is poorly understood, minimized, or ignored altogether. Trying to remain oriented towards depth while immersing ourselves in the digital media environment is like trying to meditate inside a casino. The environment itself is incompatible with the state many of us have spent much of our lives working to cultivate. This brings us to the uncomfortable reality many practitioners are facing. We live in a world where influencers are generating enormous followings and incomes, often by leveraging stimulation, sexuality, novelty, and performance. Meanwhile, many deeply skilled, empathic practitioners, people with real capacity to help others heal, are struggling to adapt, to be seen, and to survive financially. It's not because we lack value or because our work isn't effective. It's because the current ecosystem rewards what captures attention, not what facilitates true healing and growth. And for those of us who are sensitive, attuned, and embodied, trying to play the game the same way often comes at a cost that's simply too high. It's important to be clear about what platforms like Instagram and TikTok are actually optimized for, because this isn't about personal taste or fairness. These platforms are built to reward whatever captures attention quickly and keeps people engaged. That tends to mean youth, beauty, sexual signaling, novelty, and content that produces an immediate emotional or neurochemical spike. The algorithm isn't assessing wisdom, depth, lived experience, or the long arc of a person's work. It's responding to engagement velocity, how fast people stop scrolling, and how long they linger, also how quickly they react. This doesn't mean the people benefiting from the system are unintelligent or have nothing to offer, but it does mean the system itself structurally favors appearance-first signaling over depth, experience, and hard-earned understanding. For practitioners whose work requires trust, attunement, and sustained engagement, this creates a fundamental mismatch. What we offer often takes time to integrate, time to matter, and the algorithm is not designed to reward that. The most important thing to recognize is this: the activation many of us are having is not a problem to be fixed, it's a boundary. Many people numb themselves enough that they no longer feel the cost of what they're consuming. They push through the overstimulation until their sensitivity dulls and the feedback goes quiet. Those of us who still feel the cost haven't numbed ourselves in that way. And that means we can't consume the same inputs. We can't orient ourselves the same way. And we shouldn't try to. Our nervous systems won't tolerate it. The change isn't to become less sensitive. It's to learn how to adapt without betraying the very capacities that make our work meaningful. And that, I suspect, is one of the central questions many of us in the healing arts are now being asked to face. One of the more subtle distortions of influencer culture is the assumption that attention equals value, or that being widely seen is the same as being deeply received. But attention based on stimulation is not the same as connection. Adoration is not the same as being known. Influence is not the same as impact. A great deal of online content functions like sugar. It's immediately reinforcing, highly palatable, and easy to consume, but it doesn't necessarily nourish the psyche or support long-term well-being. For people who are highly sensitive and emotionally attuned, the cost of consuming this desensitizing and disorienting content is often felt quickly and viscerally. Those of us in the healing arts tend to register this discrepancy more acutely because our work depends on presence, coherence, and nervous system stability. We're not just offering information, we're offering a way of being with oneself and with others. And that doesn't translate cleanly into systems built around speed, spectacle, and constant dopaminergic activation. There's another reality here that's rarely spoken about. When influence is built primarily on youth, beauty, sexual appeal, or novelty, it tends to be fragile. We've seen this pattern repeatedly in acting, modeling, pop culture, and celebrity culture, and those qualities inevitably change with age. Many people find themselves facing a profound identity reckoning. Some adapt and evolve, developing depth, skill, and a body of work that carries forward. Others struggle deeply when the attention that once fed them begins to fade. The suffering isn't only about losing visibility, but about how tightly one's sense of worth became fused with being admired. For those who have spent time in the limelight, this becomes a psychological and developmental reckoning, revealing the difference between organizing a life around attention versus organizing one around substance, relationship, and meaning. The deeper question many of us are being forced to confront isn't why certain content gets rewarded, but what kind of attention we're willing to organize our lives around. Depth-based work has always moved more slowly. It has always relied on trust, discernment, and real relationship. That was true long before social media and will remain true long after whatever platforms dominate today have changed or collapsed. The trade-off is real. Less mass attention, slower growth, more uncertainty, and at the same time, far greater meaning, coherence, and impact for those who are actually able to receive the work. For many of us, the task now is not to compete in the systems that were never designed to value what we offer, but to find ways to remain visible enough to survive without sacrificing the very qualities that make our work worth doing in the first place. Every once in a while, I'm thinking to myself, I should probably go and check Instagram because I haven't looked at it for quite some time, or I receive a post that someone shared with me. But after 5 or 10 minutes, I'm feeling agitated and I want to get off. For me, Instagram has become more of a place to save photos that I occasionally share with friends. Years ago, when people were far more connected, when they had circles of friends and extended networks, I regularly spoke to groups of people, and that's how I built my practice. Sadly, that world no longer exists. We're far more isolated now, possibly more than we've ever been, and much of our interaction happens from behind screens. Even though in-person work is far more powerful and effective, I've been forced, like many practitioners, to do more remote work. And for those of us who teach, who value presence, depth, and embodied connection, technology and digital media, while offering certain advantages, has also made life and work far more challenging. To continue my work, I'll adapt as best I can. That will likely mean creating and posting more content and reaching a broader, even global audience. The real challenge is doing that without compromising myself and continuing my own healing and growth so I can remain present and capable of working with others in a way that's authentic and embodied. I want to thank those of you who have stayed with me this far, who have listened. And if you're resonating with what you're hearing and feel ready to take the next step in your healing, I offer individual sessions either remotely or in person. Message or call me at 332-333-5155 or visit benufana.com, teachmetomeditate.com, or healmyheartache.com to learn more.